Mr. Waterhouse here. Welcome to Lesson 6, Name Your Villain. If you remember back to one of the earlier lessons, I talked about the different stages in an AMA. This one is not part of the preparation. This is now in the problem stage of the AMA. You've already prepared. You're now in the middle of the AMA. This is one of the things that you should ensure occurs early on in the AMA. Even if your AMA host asks you to start immediately jumping into your project details, it is up to you to stop and say, listen, before we jump into the details, I really think we need to pause and talk about the problem that we're solving first. And that's what I call naming your villain. There is no hero without a crisis. Think in any movie. You can't just have a hero come in and save the day if there was no crisis that people needed saving from. That's what you want to outline here early on in the AMA. Start with the problem. Be very clear about which problems caused you and your team to come together to create the project to begin with. We saw this and this happening. These are the problems with it. We figured it needed to be solved because we couldn't rely on the existing platforms who are doing whatever that service happens to be to do it, right? It's not in their best interest to do it. So we're going to solve these problems. Great. As you're explaining what the problems are, or you're naming your villain, you want to remember your audience. If your goal, your target audience, if you remember from earlier lessons, was to bring in very technical people who are already very crypto, Web3, NFT, metaverse savvy, then you can communicate the problem in somewhat more technical terms. You still want to keep it simple, straightforward, but you can go a little bit deeper. If your goal and your target audience is non-crypto investors or new investors, you want to bring new people into the space, then you're going to have to communicate this problem in a way that hits home for them. And all of the language you use and the examples you use are going to have to be non-crypto, Web3, NFT, metaverse specific. They're going to have to be specific to other things that are outside of that space because they don't know what the heck you're talking about yet. So remember your audience as you're going through outlining the problem. The next thing you want to do once you figure you've established the problem is talk about why it hasn't been solved already. And this is a good opportunity for you to explain potentially why it's not in the best interest of the incumbent platforms or the Web2 platforms, if you're competing with them, for example, to change their ways because it maybe conflicts with their revenue model. I don't know. But you have to explain why it hasn't been solved already, because this is going to help you differentiate yourself as you start to talk about your project. If it's something that has been solved already, then is it really a problem? Not really. It's been solved, just not by you. So in this case, hey, it's a problem. Many people have taken a stab at it. Here's why people have failed. Here's why some people are never going to try. That opens the door for you to come in. And lastly, what's at stake? People need to understand that this problem needs to be solved. It's not just that it exists. It's not just that people haven't been able to solve it. It's that it needs to be solved. There needs to be some urgency. There needs to be a reason for people to want you to solve it. They have to understand that if this problem isn't solved, X is going to happen, or Y is going to continue to happen to me. It's going to cost me money. It's going to cost me whatever, censorship. I don't know what your platform is about, right? So you pick what is actually true for your project and the outcomes for your project, but people need to understand what's at stake. You have to outline all four of these things. Well, I guess three of them, remembering item 2. Problem, why it hasn't been solved, what's at stake, and remember to communicate it in language that is relevant to your target audience. Do these things. You will clearly name the villain, and that opens you up down the line when you do start talking about your project during the AMA to come in as the hero and save the day. That's all I've got for you for today. I look forward to making the next lesson. If you're coming and watching this on YouTube, make sure, linked down in the show notes or the description, make sure to check out the Discord channel if you want to communicate with the rest of the community, or you want to give me feedback or anything like that, or you have ideas. You have to go down to the Discord side of things. So check it out if you want to. If you're happy just consuming here on YouTube, I'm happy to have you stay here. Thanks.